Hey everybody, John Skiba here from the Consumer Warrior YouTube channel. Welcome to Thursday night. We're here as we are each and every week. No, I got to do a little intro. It's Thursday night. Let's get this done. All right, everybody. Welcome back once again on a Thursday evening. We're here to talk about all things debt related. I'm John Skiba. I am a bankruptcy attorney and I do consumer debt type issues in the state of Arizona. I work at the Arizona Consumer Law Group. My contact information is below. And what I do is I help people who are dealing with serious debt issues. We're talking lawsuits, wage garnishments, debt collection lawsuits, all those kind of things. And so each and every week, what I like to do is have this opportunity where we can talk about that, where you can put your comments and your questions. If you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube watching this, you can put them in the chat section. I'll throw them up here on the screen, and that way you can see, we can go over and we can learn together as far as some of my tips and strategies and maybe point to some different resources. Now, the thing I always tell everybody, while I am a licensed attorney in Arizona, I'm not licensed anywhere else. I don't know the laws anywhere else. And my whole goal is to give you some ideas to point you in the right direction, and then for you to either find it yourself or contact an attorney. If you need legal advice in your state, definitely contact an attorney because there's a lot of these things that can be kind of complicated and tricky, and you got to make sure you're doing it right. So with that being said, so the live stream each and every week is sponsored by SoloSuit. I have provided information in the past on them. They do, particularly for people that are representing themselves, they do a great job of providing resources, things like how to respond to a debt collection lawsuit, how even debt settlement, compelling arbitration, all those types of things. They do a great job, and you can, there'll be a link below if you want to learn more about them. It's also a great way to support the channel here at the Consumer Warrior YouTube channel. So before we jump into questions that you guys may have, one thing I wanted to go over is something about Chapter 13 bankruptcies. In my law practice, I get this question a lot. We talk a lot about Chapter 7s, particularly on the channel. There's a lot of comments I get about, in my Chapter 7 bankruptcy cases, they want to know about Chapter 13s and what they really are. So I wanted to talk about the difference between the two briefly, and then we can jump into your questions. Most people that file bankruptcy, they file Chapter 7. That's what most people are thinking about when they think of the bankruptcy process. It wipes out all those debts. You get your fresh start that we hear about and all the advertising, and you move on with life. Now, Chapter 13 is a much different process. The idea behind Chapter 7 is you're getting rid of all your credit card debt, medical bills, unsecured debt. They look to see if you have any assets. They're going to sell them off if they're not protected or if they're not exempt. Give that money to your creditors, and then they close it out. Like I said, the whole process takes about 4 months. Chapter 13 takes up to 5 years. This is a serious commitment if you're in a Chapter 13. And the question is, why in the world would you pick a 5-year process over a 4-month process? And the reason is if you make too much money. There's something called the means test. They put this into the bankruptcy code back in 2005. And essentially what they do is they look at how many people live in your household, how much you make. And if you make more than the family of your size in your state, they're going to require you to file a Chapter 13 in most cases. So a Chapter 13, the idea behind it is it does some of the initial things the same as a Chapter 7. It stops your creditors from going forward. They can't, garnish your wages. They can't do any collections while the case is pending. So they stop everything from moving forward. But what it also does is it has some tools in it that Chapter 7s don't have. Particularly, Chapter 13s are helpful if you're behind on like your mortgage payment or your car payments. You'll get 5 years to get caught up on them. You are required to pay some money to your credit cards and how they determine how much that is. There's a formula. It's really tough because in the consultations, people always say, okay, great. I know I'm going to have to pay them something. How much? It's very fact specific. But where we start is we start with your income, your monthly budget. We look to see, is there any money left over at the end of the month? And that's generally the starting place on all of these plans that we propose to the court. Is your disposable income is being paid to your creditors over a 5-year period. And then if there's any money that's still owed, unlike the credit cards or the medical bills after 5 years, it's eliminated or discharged at that point. So that's kind of really big picture about the differences, but I'm going to do some additional videos about Chapter 13, about what it's like in kind of a deep dive, just because I know that a lot of people, we're seeing a lot of Chapter 13s here in Arizona recently. It's usually quite a small portion compared to the Chapter 7s, but they are for the most part, we're seeing a lot more than we have in times past. So looks like we don't have questions today. This might be a short live stream this week, which isn't a crazy thing. My practice right now is super crazy, and I have some actually big announcements that we're going to be talking about next week as far as to why it's so busy. But if there are any questions, go ahead and put them up there. Otherwise, we can end it early and get home a little bit earlier tonight. So if there's, kind of going once, going twice, if there's nothing else, we will end it early tonight. But if I can be of help, put some down in the comments. I could do future videos on them, and we'll take it